come on board as we're about to begin. Yes, thank you very much, Drew. I am looking very clean because it's getting too long, so I need to put some control there, and yeah, there you go. So let's just have a quick moment here and kind of recognize, is there anyone here that has you are joining us for the very first time? That every time we had trainings virtually for the past 3 weeks, is this your first time? Is this your first time? Please say new. Just type new onto the chat box so that we know that you are here and we want to welcome you. Is there anyone new? Just type new on the, thank you very much, new. I don't have your name there, but I know you are using an iPhone. So anyone else, any other new welcomers that is coming here for the first time? I'd just like to welcome you to this virtual trainings that we are having. And today we're going to have a very interesting way of doing things where we have taken questions from some of our refill agents, and those who are non-refill agents, you're welcome to participate as I go through some of the questions, and you can ask clarifying questions. And it's going to be a conversation. And I thought that every week or every 2 weeks, I would start the week with this kind of conversation so that we can have a good perspective of what to expect as we go along the days. Just a quick check in terms of numbers so that I know we have refill agents and non-refill agents. Can I see if you are from refill? Please press 1. If you are not from refill, please press 2, so that I can see the differences. Yeah, Richard, thank you. Thank you for joining us. All right. Chris, thank you for joining us again. SY, thank you for joining us. Alec, Mr. Lim Alec, thank you, all the way from JB. Yes, anyone else? Okay, I have no idea who is the iPhone user, but thank you for joining us. No problem, Richard. Thank you, Luis. Thank you for joining us all the way from JB, Yes, anyone else? Anyone who's a 2? Just want to welcome you and thank you for joining us. Awesome. Now, so today, I thought I want to have a conversation here with the perspective of what is a shift. And I'm just going to quickly bring us all back to this this things that's happening right now, which is a shift. So what I'm sharing, what I've shared with you guys 3 weeks ago, if you remember, we talked about shift, especially focusing on shift tactic 1, 4, and 7 on this book. Now, if you have not bought this book, I will encourage you to get it. This is one of the most important books that is relevant right now. Now, if you have not have this book because of the lockdown, you can't get it. I believe you can buy the online version, the ebook version, or if you don't mind going on to Facebook, can some of the virtual support help me put that Facebook group called Shift Pivot on the chat box here. Wenda, if you need to buy as a refill agent, there's a different pricing for refill agents. Check with your market center administrator. She will let you know what the cost for those for refill agents. Can someone write in the chat box the KW group that was run by Jay Papasan and James Shaw called Shift Pivot Ahead? Yeah, so someone can just put that group inside that chat box so that we can bring agents to that chat box, to that particular Facebook group. There you go, Shift Daily. That's when I think I just hope that you can just copy and paste this particular link and then put it in your browser so that you can actually be part of the conversation and try to understand. That group is open for all agents around the world. It doesn't matter if you're KW or not. So it's open for all around the world. And Jay Papasan, the co-author of that book, together with James Shaw, which is a KWU master training faculty, will be hosting that group and be adding new videos, new content, and new perspective on how do we behave in this shift in this business. Now, are you guys ready for me to get into the questions? If you are ready for me to go into it, press 1. And yes, or can say yes. Let's just say yes. Awesome. All right. The first question that we have here, I will not bring the name up because I just wanted to focus on the questions, and I believe they are all good and interesting questions for us to have conversation on. The first thing is, how are our virtual trainings shifting the real estate industry? Now, the shift is this. What's happening in the shift right now? We are going through what we call a downshift, right? And it is potentially one of the sharpest downshift. When I mean sharp, meaning it's on the edge and it just drops, right? What happens in a sharp shift is that you will see very high impact to the economy. Now, I think in my conversation with many people, you can hear breathing sound. Yes, I am breathing. Virtual assistant, can you tell me if everything is okay with my sound?
Yes, your sound is okay. It's good.
Okay. So one of the things that is going to is happening right now is that a lot of businesses are not going to sustain in the long run if this keeps going where they are, or if they don't change or they don't shift. Why is that? Because there is a total stop of everything around the world. Generally, supply chain will be then affected. Certain things are affected. If you want to build cars, certain parts are not there, for example, right? So because the factories that is manufacturing or receiving orders from foreign parts that's coming in to the assembly plant, it's not working, it's not there, right? So there is a disruption in the supply chain. Now that's the reality. When you have a major disruption in the supply chain, it's chaotic, right? How many of you are enjoying a very cheap petrol price right now? I went to for the first time after 3 weeks, I pumped petrol to my car on Saturday. On Saturday, normally my car it's a rather big car, but it's actually a hybrid electric car as well with a petrol engine, right? So the petrol engine normally pumps full at about 100 ringgit. I paid about 50 ringgit. It was like, wow, that was really cheap. But the reality is this, the reality is it doesn't matter whether it's cheap or not. I wouldn't want the petrol price to be so cheap. The reason why is because the government budget is focused on the revenue of petroleum. And right now, the oil price is at all-time low. Yesterday, the oil price dropped. The futures of oil price dropped to $17 per barrel. This is the all-time low. What does it mean? The budget that the country set last year in October, it's based on a $60 per barrel oil price. Right now, it's at $17, meaning you will see that the export income that's coming out from Petronas to Malaysia, it's going to be so low. How are we going to manage that balance? And it's the same thing for everyone in the global, in every country, right? So it is important for us to understand the reality that's happening. I'm not trying to be negative here. People ask me, John, why are you speaking so negatively? It is not that I'm trying to be negative. I'm trying to bring the reality to you guys. Now you will see a lot of there are certain publications that put up there, okay, Malaysia will go 2021, they will have a 9% growth and all that. That's potentially possible because we just dropped 20% this year. Does that make sense? The reason why we are going, the potential of projecting it going high next year is because there is a huge drop right now. The problem is this. The problem is we are waiting for the upshift to go up to 9% when we drop 20%. Before we finish a drop of 10 to 20%, we may not be surviving already. And if you're waiting for the 9% to come and start doing work, then you potentially may not be already in the market at that point in time. So that's the reality, and that's the purpose of us bringing this virtual training to the real estate industry, to really bring out the awareness and try to help the agents to think and act right now. So that's the goal. I think I'm not sure about you guys, but help me by help me to see if what we are doing right now is affecting or effective for you, in your business. For those who have been following us for the past 3 weeks, have you been taking action because of some of the things that you are learning and some of the things you are being aware from the training right now? If you have, press yes. Just type yes. All right. Okay, you are taking action right now because of some of the things that you are learning from the training. So that's what we are trying to do, to bring that awareness to the marketplace so that we are adding value to the agents. And that's very critical. That's so critical right now, and that's the reality, right? So the reality is important. It is not so simple as, okay, it's going to come back up again, there's a rebound and all that. Yes, every time that everything that goes down will pops up back, right? That's a rebound. It's going to happen. The question is, can you survive the down to face the up? And are you prepared for that, right? And the preparation for that upshift starts when you are coming down and the downshift, and that's the reality, right? To gain and buy that market, to gain and that market share, so that you are still surviving and still profitable in this season. Okay, cool. Now the second question is this: property prices has been stagnant for years now, even in prime location. How to convince investors amidst the present economic crisis? What could be the attracting factor? Now, you are absolutely right. There is, for a long time, the past 1-2 years or even 3 years, there is a flatness in how the market is. Now, if you all agree there is some sort of a flatness in the past 1-2 years, please press flat. Just write, just type flat. If you don't agree, type no. Okay, there you go, flat. Someone has double T's or triple T's there. It's a flat market, right? So it's not moving. Why is it not moving? It's because we went up and we peaked from 2011. If you go back to the house pricing index, 2013 was the peak. And I believe it's about 13 or 14% increase of the house pricing index, the highest ever in the history of Malaysia. And once we peaked that was when the governments, the Bank Negara start implementing certain policies like no more DIBS, no more interest-bearing scheme, LTV is down to 70%. So there were a lot of policy to help to curb that peak and that price increase, because the higher you go, the danger is that you will come to a point where you need to drop because it has gone too high, where the affordability becomes a challenge for the consumers. Now, because of that, we have been in a very flat journey. There were not many policies that was in place to help adjust the price to go down or up, right? Everybody is afraid to be the one that caused the price to go. I'll give you an example. In Singapore, during that time, the government implemented very serious policy like additional buyer stamp duty. So basically, if you are a foreigner buying in Singapore, you literally have to pay taxes like about 27% or 21% on the sale price, right? So there were some of the policies to help curb the value from going up and try to bring the price down purposefully, because that's how you want to make sure that it doesn't go overboard and cause social economy issue. But we don't have any of those policies in the past few years, right? And because of that, it has been stagnant for many, many years. Now, guess what's going to happen? What's going to happen right now is you will suddenly see a major panic, because there were many buyings that was happening, especially in the new properties market in the past 3 to 5 years. And they're all coming, the supply is all coming into the market, and is all ready to be occupied and ready to be sold and ready to be rent. Now, if there are speculators in the market, this is the time where there will be very challenges, very, very challenged. And we do have an overhung supply problem. Now, I believe right now that potentially there will be what we call a correction in the market, meaning there will be an adjustment of price based on supply and demand. Now, the law of supply and demand states that in order for you to hit an equilibrium, the number of demand and the number of supply must match. And then when you meet, you will hit what we call an equilibrium. Right now, we have higher supply, lesser demand. But we have another problem. The demand that we have potentially cannot match the price of this property. Maybe we have more demand than we think we have. Now, if you ask yourself this question, if you have a product right now in prime location that is selling 400 to 500,000, double-story link house, how many of you think you have buyers in your hand right now? Let's say PJ, 500,000 double-story link house. Do you have buyers right now? Brand new development. Just giving you an example, right? Plenty, because there is a mismatch of supply and demand expectation. Not only on the number of people wanting to buy, but the expectation and the reality of what they can afford to buy. That's the reality. That's the reality here right now. So what's going to happen here, potentially, you will see certain asset class may be going through a correction slowly, right? The correction cannot drop so much because property is an inelastic product. You cannot see it dip so fast unless there is a major systemic shock to the credit or to the financial system, like we saw in the US, the Lehman Brothers collapse, where literally property went from 300,000 to 50,000. There was 80% down. That was one of the major property crises in the world that have ever been seen before. So these are some of the things that I think will happen. So the opportunity for you to work with investors right now is to know, number one, investors are in the market, potentially coming into the market again. Because I always believe what Warren Buffett says. If you know who is Warren Buffett, if you don't know, you better Google him. You should know him and understand his philosophy and his mindset about the psychology of the market. And he always says this very, very famously: be fearful when everyone is greedy, be greedy when everyone is fearful. Right now, there's a lot of fear in the market. And it's time to get greedy and go into the market and start looking for opportunities. And if you are that agent with a good number of investors in your hand right now, this is a time to go into the market and start engaging the investors, start engaging owners and understanding which owners needs to sell, and you need to help them be very purposeful in establishing that conversation with them. And that's how you meet. It's not about you attracting the customer, it's about you bringing the best opportunity for them. So it is about us going out there and having that conversation. So I encourage every agent here, if you want to focus in the investment market, this is the opportunity right now, the best opportunity. Look for people with money or with credit. Both things are the same. You have credit, you have money, you can buy. This is the opportunity to look for them right now. If you're not out there purposefully looking for them, you will miss out on this exciting journey. That's where I think there is a lot of opportunity right now. A lot of people have been asking me, hey, John, is this the best time to buy? I say, yes. So which one do we buy? I say, go and look at options. Help your clients know what they want. Go through the need analysis with them so that you know what they look for and potentially give them an opportunity, okay? I'm going to skip the fourth question to come back to that question later because I think that is a little bit different. That talks about the rents of our company and the whole industry. I will talk about that later. Virtual support, please remind me of question number 4 or this third question, the long question. I will come back to that later because I want to just focus. Yes, that one, thank you. I just want to focus on the rest of the thing that's focusing on the market right now. This is another interesting question. Would there be a shift on how standard SPA and tenancy agreement to be revised to protect home buyers and tenants? I think now, first of all, you must understand a sales and purchase agreement or tenancy agreement that is, okay, if it's a sales, let's talk about sales and purchase agreement first. An SPA that is non-HDA, meaning it's not buying from a new home project and all that. It is not governed by any regulation in terms of what kind of terms and conditions should be inside. It is what we call a private treaty. It is an agreement between both parties that all you need to do is to establish the 7 elements in Contract X to make it a valid and legal contract. Now, the terms and condition, it is subject to negotiation by 2 parties. There is no law governing what is a right term, what is a fair term. Does it make sense so far? So it's not like that. But what you potentially see will change, potentially, I think, would be additional focus on force majeure. For example, right now we are in MCO. Now, if you have a SPA that's in a process and in that time frame of that transaction time, potentially some SPA may have force majeure clauses, some may not have. Now, force majeure means there is an act, there is something that you and I cannot control. So MCO is something we cannot control. Now, because of the MCO status, they may be delayed in, for example, registering a title. Or for example, going to the bank and getting the bank to get certain documents in place, for example. Or I cannot submit some documents because my document is trapped in the office, I'm at home, I cannot go there. for example. So there are some of these things that's happening right now, which I think potentially after this, potentially some prudent lawyers or some prudent buyers or sellers will potentially pay attention to that and want to add that particular terms and condition of force majeure to be more clearly stated and more clearly defined. What are the remedies and what are the certain things that will happen? So I think that potentially could be a shift there. In terms of tenancy agreements, I don't know, but I think right now, if you are a business owner and you are renting a premise, I suspect everyone is going to the landlord and say, please reduce. So I suspect potentially if there is any changes in how the practices and behavior of tenants and landlord is to wanting to establish that particular clause for force majeure in case that certain things happen. Because again, this is something that we have never experienced before, right? So that's where you want probably will happen. Yes, Oliver, there are some tenants agreement that has force majeure. There are some agreement that invoke that clause in, but yeah, just so that you know, I think that's something that may potentially happen to some of the beliefs or to some of the way agreements are going to shift because of the behavior of what we have experienced so far, and we don't want to get caught right now. But I suspect if you have a situation right now with this in terms of time, it is only important for you, especially if you have not signed the SPA right now. Very importantly, go ask the buyers to seek extension and negotiate with the owners or the landlords to get that extension period before executing SPA, because that is something that you want to put to work on right now. I have recently one agent messaged me. They signed a ATP, signed an agreement to purchase just a few days before MCO, and she mentioned what she asked: would it be wise to get in and write an official letter to get both parties to agree on an extension to enter into the sales and purchase agreement? That is something absolutely that you need to do. These are the things that could bulletproof and protect your transaction right now. So some of these things that if you are in that season where you have already some transactions or some at ATP sign, pending agreement sign, you might want to think about doing that, seeking for extension, right? So these are some of the things that I think I would see a shift in terms of how some of the practices will be doing.
John, are you there? Okay, looks like John is stuck. Yeah, hold on a minute. We'll try to get him back ASAP. Hold on a minute, yeah, guys. Okay, John got disconnected for a while. Let's just wait for a while. He'll probably try to connect back.
I'm back.
Okay, well done.
Okay. Hang on, let me just adjust my computer so that I can see my screen properly. Wow, that was scary. That was an example of force majeure, right? Internet break off. Cannot control, right? All right. Okay. Did you get my last piece of advice? Just focus on your current transaction right now and look at how you can protect it and bulletproof it by giving that opportunity to extend the period of entering into the contract. And those who are already in a contract right now, you might want to work with your buyers and sellers, with the lawyers, to see is there a way to potentially extend the time if there is no force majeure in clause, right? And I believe that's something that you all have to negotiate. And if you are able to do that, you are actually adding value to your clients. Okay, the next question is, would there be a shift of buyers' mindset as location, suburbs, areas away from cities, or the need to be near offices, or density of condo shift to lower density, also makes development will not be in demand? Okay, there's two questions here. The number one, I believe the behavior of the buyers in terms of where they want to stay and all that, it's something that is very difficult to shift, right? But if it's a business and office right now, potentially there is an assumption that some offices or more expensive offices may not be the most necessary thing right now in the short term. So potentially for offices, I suspect grade A offices and certain offices may be affected in this market because working at home is not that bad. And a lot of people, because of technology and Zooms and other various platforms like Microsoft Teams or Google Hangouts, there are many more new platforms that's emerging that is supporting conversation and communication, and also sharing of files and sharing of ways we do work. Perhaps working from home becomes the new norm. Now I'm suggesting this because I am enjoying that working from home experience. And I felt that I'm much more productive here right now compared to last time. And also I think my teams potentially feels the same way as well. So I think to a certain extent, there will be some changes in how we behave in terms of where we want to work. And I think that behavior to change our understanding and our need in terms of where we want to stay, it's a shift that happens a little bit slower than other shifts. But doesn't mean it's very slow, but a little bit slower. I think working from home may become the new norm. So whether it's near or not near the office suddenly becomes a different conversation, a different thought. So it's a very good question. Do we need to stay in the city? Do we really need to stay near the offices that we are in? In fact, if you're a real estate agent right now in our market centers, hang on, let me just put this down. We are going to see potentially a change because all agents here, you potentially don't enter the office every day. And if I'm sharing this with you now, let's just do a quick survey here. If I'm going to carry on and do virtual trainings and virtual sales meetings, how many of you will feel that this is going to help you to save costs and be more effective and efficient? How many of you will sign on? Give me a sign. There you go. See, number one, the room that we have, the training room that we have has limited capacity, right? But now if I do this, I can reach out to more people. I could have more trainings. I could have, like, you don't have to be even in KL to be part of us, right? So the reality has changed a little bit for us especially. And I told my staff, moving forward, we are going to move very heavily into the virtual area because that's the new reality that's going to help a lot of our agents to be more effective, efficient. You don't have to move up. You don't have to wake up early in the morning and go through the traffic jam. I know Lily, if you're on the call right now, Lily from Puchong team leader, she always tell me she stays in Kajang and she needs to, for her to come to HQ in PJ, she needs to leave at 6 or 6:30 in the morning, right? And that's potentially a sacrifice of a quality of life. Now, if we can do this virtually and still have the similar interaction, why not? So that's potentially an example of our company adopting virtual way of doing business, right? And so many of you are right now telling us, do this. This is the best way to do training and do conversation. And everyone can be part of it. Everyone can still ask questions, right? And you can be at the comfort of your home. I potentially think some of you now are still in your pajamas, right? Okay, I won't ask you to on your cameras, but potentially some of you may be in your pajamas right now. There you go. Some of you say no. Okay, I'm just joking, just kidding. Yeah. So these are some of the things that we could do. In fact, if you're part of a team right now, why do you wait to come together in the office? Why don't you just 8:30 every morning do a virtual half-an-hour call? But that would then help you to move things, and you can do things at your comfort. There you go. So I think these are some of the things that will happen, and I believe so. I agree so that that these are some of the things that will change the way we behave or how we interact and use property. I also think that there will be a potential shift in retailing. Retailing is going to change the way the consumer has been using digital experiences to buy stuff. You will begin to see that to change. Now, I'm not saying everything will go virtual, but there are certain things that will go virtual. You still need to send your car to the workshop. You cannot send your car to the workshop virtually. It doesn't work, right? So this is what some of the things that will happen. There you go. Okay. And the next part of the question is, would there be lower density or mixed development will not be in demand in the future? I believe since 2015, there was a huge shift from developers who wanted to do mixed development, and they decided not to do that. Now, why? It is because of the introduction of the two new regulation or two new federal act, amendment in the Federal Strata Title Act and Strata Management Act, where the introduction of CIFRs, Studio Unit Share, where you are supposed to apply for stratification to all of your titles before you complete your property. And in order for you to do that, it is when your construction is up to superstructure level, meaning the framework of the whole building is ready, you are supposed to apply for strata title application for everyone. And one of the conditions is that the developer must make sure that particular parcel of land has been discharged of all borrowings. Now, that's a major problem for most developers, because development is a capital intensive business. To be able to discharge the land, most developers will charge their land to the bank, get what we call bridging financing to come in to help with the construction of the building while selling the property. And if they can achieve their break-even point of sales, then they are safe. Now, the problem here is that most developers may not have the capacity to discharge all their property, the borrowings from that particular parcel of land. And if it's a mixed development, what is stated in the regulation is that all parcels have to be ready for stratification, right? To be transferred out, or to have that ability to transfer the strata title ready at a certain point in time, which needs them to actually discharge the whole particular land. So if you are building a mixed development, for example, if you are building a mid-valley right now, you will see that you have many components: the car park, the malls, the shops, offices, and condos. It is probably very not likely that you will launch the entire project for everything, but it is treated that way because if you don't have all those ready, you won't be able to apply for strata title. So what happens in the past is when they start building 2 condo blocks and they said, hey, condo is selling better than office, let's convert the office to Soho, right? So some of these things now, the flexibility doesn't exist anymore. That's why you can see the past few years, a lot of developers have changed their plan from doing mixed development to cutting them into blocks, right? So I foresee that mixed development will be a very, there will be lesser of that being developed because of that regulation, and that is very the impact of the development's cash flow is very what do you call that, high. So phase by phase or block by block, so it wouldn't be the entire thing like what they used to do last time. So that's probably going to happen. It's already happening right now. It's already happening, right? And because of that, as you said, that is there a need for me to buy a property to stay near where I work? Yes and no. And there's that conversation right now going on. If probably this has been a season of time where it is getting us as consumers to ask a lot of questions about our own behavior. Maybe we need to relook at certain simplicity in life. So some of these things are happening, and I'm very interested to see how that impact the consumer moving forward. Okay, the next question is how to define and address market shift in our business plan. Very good question. This is a very good question. I think in order for us to address and define market shifts in our business plan, we first need to understand that your number one goal in your business plan should be focusing on how are you going to survive and potentially thrive after this season. And the only way you can do it is to go out there and gain market share. What does it mean by market share? Perhaps maybe before this, you were only doing 20 transactions in an area that has 500 transactions. Potentially after this MCO or within the next 6 months, you will see that 500 transactions a year perhaps drop to 150 transactions. Let's just say as example. And if you don't maintain your 20 transactions, you potentially will drop according to the ratio, right? From 500 become 150, from 20 potentially become 5. And that's going to be a problem for you. So the goal is to maintain your volume. That's where when you maintain your volume, you're still 20 transactions over 150 versus what you were before 20 over 500. So what has happened, you have actually gained more market share by just maintaining your sales volume. So your number one plan is to gain market share, meaning right now, who has the best listings and the best buyers, best leads wins. And how you approach that lead and how you approach that opportunity wins. So if you are doing a GPS right now, I will encourage everyone, if you have those who are with us in Redfield, maybe you set a GPS in January. This is a time to revise that GPS. Do not change the goal, but change the strategy and the approach. Now you have seen some of the what do you call that? When we had a GPS training last week by Amiro, it was a fantastic training. You need to quickly follow through with what Amiro has done. He has changed his whole GPS. Perhaps your priority number one is now securing, if you're in the secondary market, securing and looking for quality listings and managing the quality listing, having a system to keep in contact with the owners to maintain that quality of the listing. What is quality of listings? Owners who are very willing to sell, owners who are willing to be flexible in the pricing, who are willing to price ahead of the market, meaning they are willing to price so that I can sell today. So having that conversation, it is having the conversation with the clients to make sure that you know how motivated are they selling and how much lower can they accept, but not asking the client to lowball their price. I'm not asking you to do that. I'm asking you to be realistic, do a comparison. If there's a CMA in the location, this is 500,000. The current market price is 500,000. Everybody is listed at 500,000. Now, if you want to price ahead of the market, maybe you should set an asking price at 475,000, for example, or 470,000 and close at 450. Are you prepared to do that? I'm not asking you to go and sell at 300,000. That's not the way to do it, but potentially price ahead of the market. Hope that makes sense so far. So that's one example, focusing on quality listings as part of your GPS. Now, if you're a capping agent in this company, this Thursday or Friday, I can't recall the day, I think it's a Friday, you will be part of a workshop. You'll be selected to be part of the workshop to work on your GPS, and we'll break that down into different categories of agents as we go along the weeks to have more workshops to help agents to relook at some of their GPS. That's most important. Your goal and your focus is to get market share, okay? So that's the shift for your business plan. And the next question is very similar. What are the steps brands need to take now to prepare for a shifting market? Number one, get real and get right. Focus on your mindset that this is never going to be the same again. If you don't get that right now, and you're expecting that upshift, that everybody is very happy. You see, everybody, when they share about, oh, Malaysia is going to hit 9% growth, everybody is very happy and they think that's the reality. That's not the reality. That's the future after we come to a very big dip. Now, that's the reality. Get right and get real in where you are right now, because that's going to help you to shape the way you plan your business. And you need to be very aggressive. There is this story or this video. Potentially, I will share this video one of these days, you guys, because of time, about how they interview this NBA basketball player called Kobe Bryant. Now, how many of you know who is Kobe Bryant? If you know who is Kobe Bryant, please say yes. All right. And Kobe Bryant was said to be one of the greatest basketball players in his time for the LA Lakers. There was this story about this opponent team that was visiting the LA Lakers stadium. Yes, he just passed away, correct. For a match. So potentially they were having a game, an NBA game, let's say 8 o'clock at night. And this guy came early to the stadium from the opponent team to work harder and practice and put up his fitness to make sure that he is ready for the game. And when he came in, let's say about 4 o'clock, he actually saw Kobe Bryant already doing push-ups, already doing exercises in the gym, already going around the court, basketball court, and practicing when nobody is there. And when he went into that court, he also started practicing. And after an hour and a half, he stopped. He stopped, and Kobe Bryant was still practicing. He was still doing his drills and all that. And half an hour later, he stopped, showered, and they went to play that match. In that match, Kobe Bryant scored 40 points. He was working out 2.5 hours before the match, and he scored 40 points. He was working very hard. So this player from the other opposing team came and asked Kobe Bryant one question. See, I have to ask you one question. He said, why did you work so hard even before your live game? You were training so hard, you were sweating it, you were doing so many moves. Why did you work so long? Is this your normal routine that you work so long before a game? Kobe Bryant answered him saying, no, I normally don't work so long. But you know why? The reason why I work so long is because I saw you came in. I saw you came into the gym. I saw you came into the court. And I was willing to tell you this, send you this message that whatever you do, you are not going to work harder than me because you cannot. Because I'm always going to be working harder than you. I wanted you to know that message. Now, if you look at it prospectively from this video, Gary Keller showed this video to all of us during family reunion in Dallas. And what shook me up and started me thinking is the person that is willing to do more wins in this season. The question you have to ask yourself, and this is a very important question, are you willing to do more than what you used to do? Are you willing to look at changing your lifestyle to make sure that you work double time harder than before? Because this is how survival mode goes in. And this is how you thrive. This is the mindset of a successful person. So I just want you to think through that you should be doubling down. You shouldn't look at how convenient can I work. Yeah, there's certain convenience to make things efficient. There's a difference between being efficient and being convenient. So I want you to be efficient, not convenient, okay? And that's probably how you address your action plans right now and focus on lead generation and getting listings. Yes, that video, if you have, can someone share the YouTube link here? If someone, virtual support, if you can find a way to get the YouTube link, share that in here. I want all of you to watch the video. It's a very powerful video about how people look at Kobe Bryant when he was being the best he can be. And this is an opportunity in this season to bring out the best you can be. Because all of us have that. It's just that sometimes we need opportunity like this to bring the best out, bring ourselves out the best we can, right? Okay, now how do you attract, I'm going to move on to the next, switch gears a little bit. How do you attract buyers during this market shift? You attract them by going to them. Very simple question. You attract them by going to them. You've got to go out there and prospect. And if you need more people to come to you, make sure you have the best listing and you are known as the main person that is the expert in your market. I have a bad news for you, right? Really seriously, I've got some bad news for you. If you have no substance to offer, no value to offer, no listings to offer, no quantity listings to offer, it doesn't matter how you market yourself. Nobody's going to come. If they come for a while, when they find out that you have no quality listings, you have no value to offer, you have no depth about the market, it's going to backfire. People say, hey, that's a joke. That guy is a joke. He go online and tell he's the best. When I talk to him, he know nothing about what he's doing. So don't focus on the exterior. Don't focus on how you look outside. Don't focus on what's the campaign should I have. That's not important right now. What's important is your substance and the value you offer and what are the quality opportunities that you have for your clients. That's very important. You're absolutely right, Venda. Do not pretend to be an expert. I always say this. Someone who can buy a property more that you cannot afford to buy, who is buying more expensive property that you cannot afford to buy, is likely smarter than you and I. So don't be smart with him. Be real with him. And try to find the best opportunity for them. That's how you bring people into you right now. That's how you will get people to contact you and speak to you right now, right? And if you build that momentum, if you solve problem for them in these tough times, would they remember you? Absolutely. Because you are the only agent that's calling them, trying to help them solve their problem while others are not interested. This is your value opportunity to be valuable. So that's how you want to attract people, by going to them and have something to offer to them, opportunity or value or support or solution for their troubles right now in the perspective of their properties, right? So this is the opportunity for you right now. This is the opportunity. And many agents, I want to say this, many agents still have not shifted because they still think that marketing is still the best way. They go into the market right now, they're still trying to sell on an advertisement. That's not going to work. You've got to do more than that. You can make leads, you can create awareness, but you've got to do more than that. And I really suspect, moving forward, virtual viewing and virtual open houses will be the next best thing. I want you to stay tuned for some of the things that we are planning ahead. Virtual buying, virtual viewing, and virtual voyeurism to experience the property will be the next thing here. It will happen. And if that agent is not prepared to virtually work with their clients to show them opportunities virtually, that's not going to work. And it's virtually, I don't mean by putting in a portal. I mean by having 360 views, experiencing, going through a walkthrough, a 3D walkthrough. So potentially some of these things are going to change the behavior because we want to stay comfortable at home and we want to have social distancing maintained for the next few months. And if you are the first one that have those listings available virtually for them and do a virtual open house, that's something that is interesting that we have not trained all you guys to do it, but we are learning to figure out what's the best way to help all of our refill agents to do that. And that's something that I think that will change the landscape of real estate experience. Doesn't mean the owner or the buyer doesn't need to go and see the property physically, but maybe they will vet through the first layer, or the first experience would be done virtually and eventually go in to see the real thing. I think potentially that may happen. So yeah, some of the things that we can attract buyers by telling them, you know what, don't protect yourself from social distancing. I have 5 listings here that I think you might like it. Let me do a virtual walkthrough with you. Would you mind going on a Zoom call with me or whatever platform that I can show you this virtually, and then we can have an interaction. So that will potentially change the landscape. Okay, next one. With the current economic condition of negative growth for this year and uncertainty for the coming years, how do you foresee the property market for the next 1-2 years? I think, as I said before, we are going to see a correction in the market. It is going to be by far a major correction, in my opinion. And I think that this is the opportunity for us to look and focus on how to work on this downshift of pricing. So that's very, very important to identify motivated sellers, I'm sorry. That is the key, to find a motivated sellers. Now, put on the chat box, how many of you are now getting motivated sellers on the phone or on the call with you right now? How many of you are working with motivated sellers? I only see Anita. Who else? Yeah, there you go. Absolutely. This is the right time. You will see a correction. Now, to predict how many percent and all that, I don't have the crystal ball in front of me, but I suspect it will not be a small correction. I suspect it will not be a small correction, right? Okay, so that's going to happen. It's definitely negative growth for this year. One of the things that will happen in the economy, you will potentially see an increase of unemployment. That's why some of these things is not factored in yet. When you have unemployment, what you potentially see is people can't afford to pay their mortgage. And that's a problem. And that's why the central bank, not the government, I want to be clear, it is the central bank, it's not the government, it is the central bank, which is a separate entity or a separate agency that's supposed to be independent, decided to give a moratorium on loans because they know potentially some of these things may be happening. Already we are seeing, if there's no retrenchment, we are already seeing adjustments of salaries across board. Most companies are adjusting salaries right now, right? So potentially the disposable income become lesser and lesser. You will see a pressure on repayments. And this is when you will see potentially, when you have this tough time, we have this situation called deflation. we already saw that petrol price has deflated. And who is that impacting? It's actually impacting everyone. It's impacting the petrol dealers. The petrol dealers, they are impacted because there's such a big gap. And when you deflate something, you create a vacuum of a gap of challenging problems in terms of who's going to pay that difference, who's going to make up that difference, right? So you will see that happening, and it's a global thing. It's not a Malaysian thing, but Malaysia will suffer a little bit more because we can't what do you call that, print so much money like the US. We don't have a US dollar printing machine, right? The US has that. So that's where we will see that. So I believe we will see that. And I believe that it is going to be a pretty long buyer's market. Government servants are safe about that, but I'm not sure how long, because we have the highest government servants in the world in terms of number of workers. We have the most ministries. In some ministry, we have 2 deputy ministers, especially in our, the most famous one, our health minister. You have 2 health ministers. So there's 1 health minister and 2 deputy health ministers. I think that's why there's some confusion about some calculation of how many states in the world and how many states in the country and all that. So I don't know, but we have that, right? So that's a problem. And I foresee that going to impact our market in the next 1-2 years. Yes, you're all laughing right now because that's probably one of the interesting conversations that we have about the number of countries in the world. The last I checked was 195, but I don't know. There are some arguments about it being 500 or so. But anyway, let's move on. Let's move on. Yes. Next question is, what's the market like after COVID-19? Will there a rebound in the housing market? How long will it take real estate market to be positioned into the positive market? See, at the end of the day, right, I want you guys to think and remove that mindset that our business can only thrive in a good or a bad, only in a good market. It actually doesn't matter. If you follow through with Wings training, it doesn't really matter whether we are in a good or bad market. What really matters is that there is transaction and there's movement in the market. When the market goes up, everyone wants to buy. Lesser people want to sell because they're holding for the price. When the market goes down, everyone wants to sell, lesser people want to buy. But when the price comes down, suddenly the market comes back in to push the price up again. So we want movement like this. Flat movement is not what we want. We want changes in the market. So it doesn't really matter which market we are in. There is always going to be transaction. And Wing said very correctly, this real estate business is recession proof if you know what to do during that shift. The problem is when you're working in a seller's market, you cannot use strategies and tactics for seller's market in a buyer's market. Does that make sense so far? You got to change, you got to shift. You got to shift accordingly. And most people think of shifting is, oh, let's just go and shift to primary market or secondary market and all that. That is the biggest shift that I think some of you should really consider before you do it. It's never about primary or secondary market. It's about what works for you in the current situation in your market. How do you gain market share? You got to think about that correctly. And the buyers are thinking, oh, maybe it's a market that I'm not coming in, because those buyers are not ready to buy. Find buyers that are ready to buy. How many of you right now have buyers that are ready to buy? They are looking for opportunity right now. How many? There you go. Now, if you have something that is down 25%, would you bring interest to the buyer? So, but you just have to work harder, right? You have to call more people, talk to more people, plan and work out a system how to manage your listing and your database. Exactly. So you've got to work hard right now. In fact, I feel this is a better year to be in real estate than last 2 years. Why? Because last year was a flat market. This year is actually a moving market. You will potentially make more money if you know how to position yourself. So you got to remove that mindset of good market or bad market that will affect your business. It doesn't matter. What matters is how you approach the market, right? In terms of rebound, I don't see any price rebound. But if the prices really comes and corrects seriously, what you will see in the rebound is the interest in buying, right? So you want to hope, we hope that there is some correction that is significant enough to help us to bring in the interest to buy again. So that's what we see. Yeah, you will see some business rebound, definitely. It's a question of whether can the business last or not. Now, would they be better because of, like, for example, let's look at the airline business example. Now, after MCO, everything is lifted up, travel safety is lifted up. Would you think there will be a rebound in the travel business? Would you think more people will take flights compared to right now? Absolutely. So they will have more revenue coming in than they have last one. Slower, maybe lesser, but they will start offering price. So what happened is they potentially tell you this, hey, let's have the best offer right now. Let's have the best offer in airlines and all that. If you're ready to travel, let's do it. Potentially, you could get cheaper business class tickets versus, for example, versus economy class. Like, do you know that the majority of revenue from a plane comes from business class? Once you hit your business class full, you cover the cost of the whole entire flight. The rest is profit, right? So these are some of the things that they will change in the model of travel. But it will rebound because they went down so low. It is almost zero right now in terms of revenue. Definitely there's a rebound, right? If the company survives. Oh, Susan just booked a trip to Shanghai. All right, I hope it's a cheap trip because I think a lot of good opportunities right now to get that kind of opportunity. Okay. Gather the property price will depreciated by 10 to how true is the statement? I cannot tell, and I don't want to speculate that it will go down to 10 to 20%. Last time someone did that, he went on newspaper and he was very upset, right? So I don't want to say that, but I would think that we shouldn't look at the, for us, right, the most important question is this: in your market that you're working on, whatever location you're working on, that is more relevant. Doesn't mean that price averagely dropped 20%. It means everywhere is 20% or everywhere is 10%. It doesn't work that way. What works is potentially you will see markets that will have the best, that will have a major shift in pricing. It will be potentially the foreign market, because foreigners will dump their properties first if they want to cash out, right? If they want to cash out, because they have no attachment, they just want to take back their cash. So you will see some adjustment in those areas potentially. That was what happened during the global financial crisis in 2009. Now, what will happen right now is that if we go into that high unemployment rate, there is a report I read by a third-party analysis saying that right now unemployment rate is 3% in Malaysia. Potentially by end of this year, it could hit up to 9%, meaning there is a 200% increase in unemployment, 9% out of 32 million, meaning about 3 million people will be out of a job in Malaysia, right? So potentially that impact could affect the price numbers. In America, they are looking at about 13% unemployment rate. The population of America, I think it's about 301 million. At 13%, meaning about 35 to 36 million people in the US potentially may be out of a job. So this is a systemic issue because the economy is now at a standstill, right? So that's what's going to happen. So I think you can see that potentially there is a opportunity for prices to correct. And if a seller that is really interested to sell right now, we've got to do a CMA and see what's the amount of listings that's available in the market, what's the value of the past transaction, and let's work on something that could help you buy right now. And go into the market for those buyers who are interested in the market. Ask them this simple question. This is a script. What is it that will motivate you to give me a check to buy a property right now in this area? Ask them that question. Go and talk to 10 of the buyers, the 15 of the buyers, and ask them this simple question. And if they tell you it's 20%, 30%, 25%, 30%, and you ask them the second question, if I can get you this deal, will you commit to me right now? That's how you get motivated buyers. A price or a market is determined by willing buyer, willing seller. You've got to learn how to manage this and consult. And this is the season that most agents that don't do this, they will not survive. They will not survive because they will be waiting for something to happen. You've got to go into the market and look and drive the opportunity. It is not about how nice your listing is posted. That's secondary. Most important is to find that opportunity right now. Okay. Next question. Government enforced moratorium for 6 months and lots of relief measures. Owners of secondary market able to hold for a while, except really desperate cases. Don't expect my fire sale. I disagree. I disagree is because my opinion again, I don't think the government is strategically putting good policies for the financial system of the country right now. The central government is, by issuing the moratorium, the central government has done their job right. In fact, if you notice, even the beginning of this year, central government cut interest rate by 2 times. They cut 25 basis points twice in a row. They cut twice in a row. Because they already could foresee, based on the data that they have and their tracking, that certain extreme aggressive measures needed to be done to the financial system in order to protect it from a systemic shock. And many of them then change. Many of them then start talking about a moratorium. They were working on a deal with a lot of banks to make sure that they get, and that's a central bank discretion and a central bank directive. So it's not the government, it's the central bank. Central bank is separate. And that has actually helped us a lot. That moratorium, how many of you think that moratorium has helped all of us to breathe? It helped me breathe a lot. How about you? Are you breathing better right now because of the moratorium for 6 months? Now that you have more cash in your hand, you should start thinking, how do I save that cash? And how do I conserve it? And how do I use it to win my market share? Right? So that's a very good thing. But the problem is this: at the end of the day, unemployment rate will then affect the perspective of the person's security. Now, if a lot of people are in fear of losing their job, especially the SMEs, right now, I feel that there is not much strategic approach or support from anyone to support the SMEs. Seriously, they're not. And that's something that, why I'm saying that, because we are an SME. I am part of a leadership and the ownership of the SME company. I'm not facing that. They're not supporting us enough, right? They're not helping us with there's no strategic policy to support us right now. There are very small things, and that impact is not great enough for us right now. So what will potentially happen is there'll be a lot of pressure because bills and all that needs to be paid, and you will see that those who cannot withstand that pressure or they're overgeared, they will start wanting to sell off their property. So it depends on the segment of market you're in. You're working with a lot of multi-millionaires, they are still going to be a millionaire because even they lost 20 million right now, they are still going to be a millionaire because they are multi-millionaires. So that's a different category. But the middle range and the lower range category, the guys who is in the multinational or with a SME or running an SME, those will be affected. And that's the majority of the people in the workforce right now. And with that perspective, I think the holding of the property will not be as solid as they used to be. And I think you will see some owners calling agents. How many of you, just a quick question, just to prove this point, or just to validate what I'm saying is correct, I also want to gauge, and I stand to be corrected as well, because I'm also learning this whole process. How many of you are getting calls from owner directly wanting to sell right now? Just say yes. The owner automatically call you without you calling them. They're calling you, I want to sell my property right now. There you go. You see that? That is a sign. That is an indication of the pressure that they are in. Right? So I think there is that major correction is coming right now. It is coming. Okay. Next question. Next 6 months, this secondary market not going to drop much, expect desperate cases, very small percentage, very small. Do you agree? I think there is going to be a lot of owners there right now confused and wanting to let go. And they are in fear right now. A lot of owners in fear right now. I think you're going to see some changes in the price. Now, I agree, someone just put in the chat box, do not commit to the pricing. Yes, do not commit about pricing. Do a CMA. As I say, every market is different. Fight uncertainty, not with certainty, but with clarity. Remember this, you do not fight uncertainty with certainty. You fight it with clarity. If you can look at the whole market and do a CMA and say, hey, in this location, I think if you just reduce your price to 10% of your asking price and give a 1-2% for negotiation at 12 to 13%, I think you can find you a buyer right now. That's something that you need to behave on. Not say that, oh, everything will be 20%. It's not going to work like that. Okay, you've got to be the area expert. That's how you bring value into the marketplace, right? I think we're going to do more trainings about how do you have that conversation, how do you do that, because I think that is the most important skills set, or the most important mindset that agents must have right now, right? Now, the next question is government has to step in and create some waves. Otherwise, nothing much going to move. Do you agree? Very honest with you, my personal mindset right now, as of 2 weeks ago, after all the announcements being made, I have made a very conscious decision. I'm not going to rely on what the government is going to do. And I hope you're doing the same as well. Because they have so much problem to work, they have so much problem to handle, and there is so much instability even in the systemic approach of how the government is being formed and who is doing what, and the responsibility to everyone. It's not very clear, their policies and all that. It is a very challenging time. I am not going to rely on the uncertainty that they have. I'm going to rely on myself and the team and the things that I understand and how I'm going to attack the market. So I would think that I would love that they will have some policies. I would love to have some policies in place to support our businesses, to do certain things to help with the property market. I believe there will be some policies for the property market, because once you have a share market collapse, the next thing, or corrected, the next thing that will follow through is asset class like property, the long-term asset class. So these are some of the things that will correct. So they need to put in some policies. I suspect there are some policies, as speculation about allowing foreigners to come in at the lower threshold for stratified properties. I suspect that some policies in play. And I think that will probably be a simple thing to add on, a lower threshold for foreigners. So you might see foreign market become another stream of leads that we all should focus on to get those leads in, especially in the states of Selangor and KL, potentially in Penang as well, because I think Penang is also driven to a certain extent properties. And I think those are the prerogative of the state government, not the federal government, because land matter is a state matter. So you will see state governments rising up and trying to change that policy to bring in the revenue into the country, to the state. So I suspect that's going to happen by the state governments. Okay, I hope I answered that questions. I think we have to move the market. If the government is not moving, we have to move the market. We cannot wait, right? I cannot change the government. There's so much we can do, but we can do better by changing the way we approach the market, right? That's what I want us all to focus on. This is something we can control. You cannot control the other bigger circumstances, but your way you behave, you can control. Okay, this is another question. What has done by the government if they're not going to do much? What signs should we look out for and note to give agents confidence to stay firm and handle the market in the next 6 months? Otherwise, everyone going to focus, in secondary market. So to me, I appeal to all of you here right now. Do not change whatever market you are in just overnight like this. Do it with due diligence. Talk to people about it. Work through with people. Do not just change and shift. Oh, secondary market is better. Let's all change to secondary market. Oh, primary market is better. Let's all change. It's not like that. Business don't behave like that. You don't sell mee goreng today and tomorrow. Okay, let's go and sell Western food. Let's just change because everybody is eating steak now. Let's not do mee goreng anymore. Like you don't do like that. You don't do business like that. If you are doing it like that without much thought, you are not a good entrepreneur with purpose. Be very purposeful. I want you to hold back and think through in your market. Look at data. Some of us was studying, Wing was giving a very good example about data. Perhaps your business could be a combination. When you are lead generation purposefully for these 2 other 3 products that is new, working with a different platform, but you don't have to be in the platform, but you're just working with them and still focus in your market. So I give you an example. If you are doing, let's say, Shah Alam properties, you're working in the secondary market. But as you are doing that, potentially there are 1 or 2 products that you can push. While you're seeing the buyers, maybe you can show them this opportunity versus that opportunity and give them a chance to think. That's the approach that you should take. But don't chop away your whole business and go to a new business. That's dangerous. I see a lot of agents doing that. Or when the market is bad, let's go sell something else. Let's go online and let's sell an MLM, or let's go and join insurance, or let's do something else, right? It's the same thing as shifting your market from this market to another market. It's the same thing. Do not change your business that drastic. You change your mindset, you stick to your goal, and look at what's available, what's the resources that we have in our group to support you. But don't shift that so drastically because you felt this is better than that. Actually, there's no such thing as this is better than that. Both of them have their strengths, both of them have their challenges, both of them have their opportunities. You got to know what is for you, right? I would suggest that you focus in your market, unless you are a new agent right now, and that's different. And maybe you want to think about primary market versus secondary market. Maybe you want to go into specifically one location. You got to focus on your goal. Whatever that helps you hit your goal should be in the formula. So that's why the GPS is so critical right now. And I don't think we all should just change overnight like that. I don't think so. I really don't think so. Right? I just want you to look at a different approach and look at different ways of doing it to gain market share. Your goal is to gain market share, because if you don't have market share, look what happens. You shift to another thing, you do another thing. Then when you come back, you cannot go back to the market share anymore because someone has already taken the market share. And you are here hanging neither here nor there, right? Doing something that may not bring you enough to hit your goals. And then you're stuck. And I see that with so many people all the time. Don't just shift like that. You shift your approach, change your effort, change your way you handle. Okay, that's more important. Do you have any more questions? Would you support on the chat box that I missed out?
Yes,
that's quite relevant to this topic that I'm talking about right now.
Yeah, we do. There is a question. Is it advisable for us as agents to buy properties as well into our own investment portfolio? What are your thoughts on it?
If you got a lot of money, of course can. If you have a lot of reserve and you have a lot of capacity, why not? This is the best time. 2009, personally, I accumulated the most property. I remember during the last crisis, I bought like 4 properties in 1 year. Right, 3 years later, I sold it, I make a profit. Definitely, if you can afford it, yes. But don't go in to speculate and to gamble. Don't wager or don't punt right now. Right now, you need to think about, if you are interested to invest, go in for the mid to long-term horizon. Don't go in and say, I want to flip this 2 years later, 3 years later. That's a different business altogether. If you're well capitalized for that, you can do that. It's not wrong. But if you don't have enough capacity, I will ask you to do it safely and wisely. Have wisdom. Invest in things that can bring you income right now. If you cannot, you want me to bring you good returns, give you some ROIs to manage that cash flow right now. You will see a period of lower interest rates. Someone was asking a question, I remember, are we going to freeze loans and all that? I don't see that happening, because if you do that, you have no liquidity in the market. I don't see that happening. We are not having a currency war or a financial currency crisis right now. We are not deflating our currency that much right now. So I don't see that happening. I don't see us going into capital control like what we did last time. So that probably won't happen. I think the banks are more well capitalized. The banks are stronger and bigger than before. You might see some mergers of banks to help strengthen the financial system. But I don't see the same 97 thing happening here right now. I will see a prolonged low interest rate for a long time. That's the opportunity. But go in as a part-time job. If you want to go in and do real estate sales and go in as major investors right now, be very careful. Check your financials first. Your financial capacity must be the number one priority right now. So I will advise that absolutely it's the right time to buy. It's the right time to buy. There you go. Next question first. Next question. Is there any other question?
Yeah, buyers, since 2015, buyers have been holding back. Do you think buyers will shift their holding back attitude, especially now with the COVID-19 pandemic, or will they just rent forever? So should agents just focus on rent strategy only?
Well, if you're in the market where majority of your market is first-time home buyers, then potentially that's yes. Everyone is afraid. Now, if you are buying for property for your first home right now, likely you're just entering in the workforce for the past 3-5 years, or you just enter into a small promotion as a lower or middle management, you potentially will face a little bit of uncertainty in your job security. Now, if that's the kind of market you are in right now, potentially you will see people of those markets holding back, right? And that's the market where should I rent first right now? And that's a very good question. And that's where you got to shift and move on to a little bit more rental market for those locations. In the secondary market, the primary market is a different thing, because a primary market is when they buy, they have a perspective that I only look at this 3 years later. I'm just going to put down a zero down. I pay 500 ringgit. There's so many virtual offers here right now. 50 ringgit offer, 500 ringgit offer to put a buying down, get a loan. I'm going to wait there for the next 3 years. So buying primary market and secondary market will be very different perspective and very different behavior. And I think those who want to buy a home to use right now, potentially they may shift and hold and look at renting. But those who want to buy a home later, they may look at the project right now or a new property right now. So that's important to understand where they are and what they want to achieve right now. So that's how I look at those markets right now. You will in the more affluent or upper higher market, the middle and higher range, you will see upgrades and downgrades. There will be buying patterns because of upgrades and downgrades, because the rental value of those property are very high. You will just see them either they're downgrading or they're upgrading. Like potentially that's the market. But for the lower market, for the mass market, the sub 500,000 market, 600,000 market, buying for own use, if you are first home buyers, right? Then potentially that may change. I would say that you need to know your current market audience. You need to know what kind of audience you have, even in this particular, supposedly a particular location. Like, let's just give an example. Let's look at Shah Alam, for example, right? Potentially in Shah Alam, there are many potentially newlywed couples that are looking to buy their first home. Potentially that. Maybe now I'm thinking twice, but I don't mind renting first and potentially booking a new house. That may happen. Or I already save up enough money, I'm actually already ready to go, I'm okay to go right now. That I may hold back because of my current situation in my work, right? So you've got to have that one-to-one conversation to understand where they are right now. How many of you have people ready to buy before MCO? Now they're thinking twice. If you have, type yes. And if you have, these are the market in the lower range market, the 600,000 and below. How many of you have those buyers right now? Say yes. I'm thinking twice. There you go. The lower range market, right? Yeah. So that's going to happen. So I suspect that's the behavior of the market. They're thinking about twice. So you do what you can. But at the end of the day, the best thing is to show them the opportunity and to show them the risk that they have. And to also show them that their eligibility for loan. That's very important. Once you piece all those puzzles together, potentially you are creating an environment to help them to secure. If they buy right now and this lower value, they are still going to win. The question is, the reason why they're not committing is because I'm not secure in my job. So you got to show them what's the exposure and the risk that may happen, right? Because I may be even already paying rental and my rental value versus my buying value, it's the same, right? Then what's the risk for you? It's the same risk, right? Wouldn't you prefer to own rather than rent if you're having the same risk? So you get to work through with them and sit down and do a lot of calculation and start looking through with them as a consultant. Your job is to consult and add value. Okay, next question, please.
Everyone is very pessimistic now. However, our equity market is jumping up like no tomorrow for the past 1 month. Do you think this is a good indicator for our economy or real estate market?
Not yet. The reason why there's a rebound, I would think that it's a technical rebound because there were so many stocks that were oversold all over the world. Everyone was panicking when we had this MCO around the world. It was just a pure panic sale. That was what happened. The current stock market is rebounding to a certain level that is the reality of where we are right now. Now, The next thing has not happened yet. The numbers of unemployment being reported, earnings that's being reported, revenue that's being reported in the company, and potentially major shift in some companies. You will see that happening periodically around the year. And those are the one that matters. Those are the one that will shape the shape of the graph of where the stock market is right now. And that, I suspect, is going to be a down, because the stock market is an indicator of the economy. Tell me right now, if the stock market is up 10% or 20%, is all the businesses around our neighborhood or community going up or going down? Right now, what's happening in our neighborhood or in our community? Is those businesses going up or down? Is the restaurants business increasing or decreasing? Is the current restaurants business increasing or decreasing? Or is the current guy who is selling spectacles, is his business increasing or decreasing? It's all down because there's no business. Everyone is stopped and shut down at home. Worst case scenario, we have not come to reality. Where is the wage cuts that we're all going to see for all of us, right? So that's the reality, right? So because of that, those things have not been priced in yet. As we go along the way, you will see some of these being priced in. Unemployment numbers reporting down, then you will see down. This one down, you see that. All you're looking at is the US right now. The minute you see the US reporting their unemployment drops, which is an all-time high, it's an all-time high there right now, right? You will see that affecting the rest of the world because they are the number one consumers, and when they don't have income, they cannot consume. They won't buy products from us because we are a net export country, right? So it's a ripple effect. But I'm grateful that China is back, trying to come back, right? So you are going to see that happening. And I suspect the current equity market, a current indicator, it is not the norm technical indicator anymore because there wasn't a pandemic before. There wasn't social distancing before. We haven't seen such a sharp change in behavior before. So some companies potentially, right, some businesses may not be relevant to the market and they'll be wiped out. And that's the reality. So the technical analysis of an indicator of an equity market is only so much of what the real reality is, because the reality is changing so fast. It is moving so fast. It is shifting so fast. So I foresee that the economy is not going to recover overnight this 6 months. I don't see that happening. I hope I'm wrong. I will be very grateful to myself if I'm wrong, right? But I think my logic and sense tells me, the patterns tells me that we are here. The hope is that there is a potential rebound, 6 to 12 months. There is a rebound, there is a growth, and whatever drops will come down. So you buy in right now at a low price. Everybody want to buy low, sell high. So this is the time to buy when it's low. No, the problem is don't focus that forever is low. This is just a downshift waiting to happen, and upshift. The question is, when is the upshift and how much is the upshift? That one we don't know. But what goes down must come up. So that's the hope. That's the hope, right? So that's the hope. So it is going to be a positive impact eventually because there's a correction. What is a correction means? Is correcting the price, meaning you are bringing in sellers back into the market to buy, right? So that's going to happen. Yeah, next question, please.
Apart from shifting our mindsets, perhaps it would be helpful to provide some practical training, such as how to handle objections during COVID-19, how to neutralize pricing during this economy. And the question is, what's the best words or script to use with reference to this predicament?
Do a need analysis. Find out personally from that client, personalize it, and find out what is their need right now. You have to ask that question. Maybe I will do a need analysis training again that I did last time during shift when we talk about tactic number 4 and tactic number 7. Again, don't do general script. Go and ask general questions. Where are you right now? What is the challenge that you have right now? The question should be should be questions that you should be asking. What is the gap in your financial situation right now? Ask those questions. How can I support you better in your business, in your financial question? How's your business right now? Why are you selling right now? This is a very important script. Ask this question. I find this simple question that most agents don't like to ask. They go straight into wanting to sell. They don't ask this question. This question, here it goes. Why are you selling right now? Or why are you not selling right now? Why are you buying right now? Or why are you not buying right now? Ask this question. You'll be surprised. Take down notes. When you ask questions, you find data that will support you to support them. And that's why the need analysis is, this is their reality, the positive reality, and what's the negative reality? What's the reality? I want to sell my property right now. I need to sell right now. Okay, why are you selling? Why do you need to sell? Oh, I might be potentially losing my job in the next 6 months. Okay. So if you know that's your reality, how soon must you sell? So you are selling this property right now, potentially to finance your life for the next 6 months to a year. Is that right? Yes. What's the equity that you want to get out from this property to help you? Yes. This is very important. Every one of you, if you're talking to a client, in order for you to be a consultative approach, you need to do the need analysis, the 4 quadrants that I talk about. Now, that's some of the trainings that we want to repeat again next week, because I think this is the important thing to do. How you understand the motivated buyers and motivated sellers by asking them the need analysis. And you ask them questions like, if you don't make this decision right now, how is that going to impact you? Why is that going to impact you? Okay, what's the next best option? So you've got to do that right now. The need analysis. Those who have been following our training schedules, you go back, you think back through what the need analysis. And if you all need more training, need analysis, just feel free to type it in our workplace for our refill agents. Type in a refill. I might do a special need analysis training just for refill agents, right? I might do that for you all, because I will help you all to work on your GPS by putting that as one of your priorities. Master the need analysis. Master the need analysis. There you go. Okay, any other questions? Any other questions?
Yeah, I think just 2 more. Will agents get into trouble if we facilitate foreigners to buy properties that are not in the range that the state or government regulated them to buy? For example, by adjusting paper price.
If you get caught, you'll be in trouble. Or if you don't get caught, you won't be in trouble. Very simple. Don't get caught. But if you want to do it smartly. But if you don't want to get caught and all, don't do it. Just wait right now. Wait for a few more weeks. I suspect that there will be new regulation coming in. Now, it's very easy for them to pick up a transaction that is false, because what will happen is, if you understand the process and the policy, the minute when you buy a property, assuming the property threshold right now in your state is, or in your city is ringgit 1 million, and this property is 500,000, and you decided to put 1 million ringgit on the SPA, there is a 100% increase of price in a current market like this. Then you go and submit into your stamp duty office for adjudication. That's what will happen. Then the local council, the LHDN adjudicator, when they look at the local office, they look at this, hey, something not right. Every time when they see a transaction that is not right, they will go for inspection. They will ask the government's valuer to go in and inspect the property. Now, I have done this situation before. Let me share this experience I have. There's this property I sold. The market value was 800,000. I sold it at 400,000. Why did I sell at 400,000? Because the condition of the property was horrendous. There were burn marks everywhere. Everywhere was burned down. There were scratches everywhere. It was very bad. It was not haunted, by the way. It's not haunted. It's just very, very bad. So there was only one time I had this inspection. So when the lawyer submitted to the local land office for transfer and adjudication by the stamp duty office, they came back and said, we want to do inspection and try and check, why is this property so low in value? They wanted to inspect. So the client called me, hey, the government valuers want to come in and inspect. So I went in, I showed them the properties. Then they realized, oh, okay, because it's a rundown property, it's very bad. Okay, now I understand why cannot sell. And we had to give a testimony to say that this property was in the market for 2 years. I could show them past newspaper ads and past advertisement and conversation I had with the owners, or how long I was trying to sell this property. I think about 2 years, right? So these are some of the things that right now, when you see this, yes, the government, yes, the LHDN, when they impose stamp duty, because they want to see, in the Stamp Duty Act, it says that whenever stamp duty is imposed on the property is on market value or the S&P price, whichever is higher. Now, if you price your property very high, you pay higher stamp duty, doesn't mean they will inspect and check the market, because they want to see whether is there fraudulent going on, especially when it's foreign money coming in. Right now, every time when you have someone willing to pay a very high price, way higher than market price, that is already a trigger under the what do you call that? Under the AMLA Act, Anti-Money Laundering Act, right? And as real estate agents, the red flag will raise. You are supposed to potentially talk to your compliance officer and tell them this. And it's quite silly because you are the guy that's doing the deal, right? So my question is, don't do it, right? If the gap is not very big, 10, 20,000 gap and whatever, you guys creatively think about it. But if the gap is so high, you are asking for trouble. The minute it comes to the office, we have no choice but to submit a compliance inquiry to check what's going on. Well, that's a trigger already. Why these people want to potentially pay R1 million for a 500,000 property? Something not right, right? Something is wrong, right? So don't when the gap is too big, don't do it. Next question, please. Is there another question?
Yes.
Are you guys learning something today? Are you learning something today? Is this helpful today for you all? All right.
Yeah. There's a question. Can you please elaborate more about prospecting from buyer and seller side? Can give some samples?
Pick up the phone and call someone and ask them, how can you help them right now? Ask them purposefully, what are you in the market for right now? Do you need help? Do I have your permission to serve you right now? Ask them few questions like, are you interested to sell your property? If you are, why do you need to sell your property? The same thing I talk about consistently. Asking the question why, asking good questions, good clarifying questions to your clients. Work with them. In your time block right now, if you're not time blocking to have conversations with buyers and sellers, you are not prospecting correctly. A lot of people prospect to sell. Now you're prospecting to consult to find the motivated buyers and sellers. Remember, selling will not be just one phone call and one appointment and it's done. It's not going to happen like that anymore. In fact, it was never supposed to happen like this. It is about you going in and being purposeful at that phone call and asking them purposeful questions like, why are you selling? Why do you need to sell? How long do you need to sell? When is your period of time that is important for you to sell? That is very important. That is how you need to work on to get that thing done, right? And I will go. I promise you, for review agents, I'm planning to do a special need analysis training for only review agents soon to help you to work on that conversation. But you get your GPS right first. Then we will work on your conversation. That's an exclusive training for you guys. I'm planning that very soon. Okay. Next question, please.
One of the last ones, what is your suggestion to approach a buyer who has been looking for property to buy, but currently right now he says, let us wait for pandemic to be over and the political situation to be over?
Yeah, so respect that, give that space to them, but it's okay to ask them clarifying questions like why are they buying? What do they need? What will get them excited about a transaction? So ask them this question. So assuming you already asked those questions, you know why they want to buy for whatever reasons, right? Then you ask this important question, what will get you excited right now? And you pause. What will get you excited in this opportunity right now? What are the things that will get you excited? If I bring you a listing that will excite you, how do that look like? Is it price? Is it terms? Is it the quality of the property? Is it the value that you see here? This is the questions that you can start having those conversations, and you create that excitement by finding something that is similar. You know what, Mr. Tan, I know you will make your decision after MCO to explore, but do you mind me right now to share with you some of this opportunity that I have, and I will just keep sharing it, and would you mind giving me feedback on what excites you and what does not excite you? You put something in front of his face and keep you Keep him posted on what's the latest update. That's important. That's staying in relationship. That's staying in conversation. That's staying in importance of conversation, right? So you need to know what takes them in their decision making right now. And maybe they just don't want to make decision right now, or maybe I'm not ready, I'm more fearful because there are other things that they're fearful about. And that you put that aside and you say, when is the best time can I come back to you? Do you mind me sending you informations every week? Do you mind me sending you opportunities of listings that I'm going to get as I'm having this purposeful conversation? I want to let you know, Mr. Tan, that my role is to support you by getting you the best opportunity. And I'm going to put a lot of commitment, my time block on my calendar. And here, let me show you my calendar. This is my calendar. My time block on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays from 9 to 11 is to purposefully look for opportunities for you. You do that conversation and you'll be surprised. Wow, this agent is very different from other agents. Other agents just want to sell property to me, but he is not purposefully helping me to find an opportunity. That's something that you can do. And I suspect, how many of you suspect most agents out there don't do this? If you suspect so, say yes. Absolutely. And you're changing the tone, you're changing the expectation by setting a higher standard. All of us here, with all this training, that all the effort we are putting to support you, the goal is to set your standard to be higher so that when the market opens, you are ahead of everyone else. It is not about who is the best. It's about who is ahead. You got to get ahead of the market. And the laggers who are not interested to change the way they approach, you are ahead of them right now. So congratulations. 300 of you are ahead by being part of this conversation already. And some of you already understood and you're already ahead. Just because you're not in this conversation is okay, but probably they already understood and they're doing a lot of things right now. I have a lot of agents that I'm coaching and all that. They are telling me that what they're doing is what I'm saying right now without me. So they don't need to come to this session in order to do it because they are already practicing that right now. So we're just trying to find new things that we can teach to help them to see things, right? Okay, next question.
There is no more question in the box, but we do have one more that we want to address, the one that you skipped earlier.
Yes, I think that's a good question. I purposely put this question to be last because I think, and I'm bringing that person's name here to really thank him for asking this purposeful question and a good question. And this is Charlie. Charlie, if you're in the call, thank you very much for asking this question. Now, the question is this. The question is, Charlie says that he thanks us for having a good job leading Refill to chip in to help the poor in Puchong. He agrees that we need to assist those in need that has lack. But what about those agents in Refill right now that are going through certain challenging times? We are now into the third week. How many of us have deals done in MCO? How are we to assume that all rents are self-sufficient and can look after themselves no matter how long the lockdown will go? How are we helping rents that are going through tough time? Now, as Charlie was asking this question in workplace the other day, on Friday afternoon, about lunchtime, I got a call from a good friend. He's also in the business. He was very passionate about his call. And he asked me this question. So what are you doing to support your agents? He's from a different company. He's running a boutique agency. He said, what are you doing for your agents? I said, what do you mean? I'm helping training, I'm doubling down and all that. They said, no, but you know they're not surviving. How are you supporting them right now? How are you helping them to pass through this season? And for a moment, I was a bit confused what he meant. And he was just sharing a story, how out of his 20 over agents, 1 or 2 of them are already going through a very tough cash flow situation. One of them are going through a lot of challenges. Potentially, they may have struggles putting food on the table for their family right now. And that's the reality. And he reminded me of this as I was going through this. I was thinking, actually, he's absolutely right. And Charlie's question came in at the right time. And that afternoon, I had a quick conversation with my team. I said, hey, what are we doing for our agents right now? What are we really doing to support those who are in need, those who need help, those who potentially have challenged even putting that 3 meals a day for their family? And I believe some of them may be here and may not be even in this conversation right now. Potentially they are scrambling and doing other things. Potentially they're putting on that jacket, green jacket, and getting out there in a motorcycle and doing delivery right now. And there are a lot of things that they're doing. Now, I want to be very clear. Number one, all of us are responsible for the outcome of our own life. This is very important. All of us have the capacity and the ability to do what we can, and necessary to be responsible for our family. And if we don't do anything about it, we don't put effort to do something about it, then we are also we need to take responsibility for that. Now, with that being said, there are some of us genuinely wanting to work hard, wanting to do things, but there are just certain things that we cannot do. And someone put the right thing. We are now in the process of doing something where we can try our very best to look at how can we support our own rents that are in need, that needs help. I think we all can help. And it's a responsibility, I believe, for all of us to chip in and work together on this. So stay tuned for Wednesday's announcement. I am working on a way to create an environment and opportunity for us to support all these agents. And I'm thinking of even extending this to other agents in the whole nation, because I think nobody is doing anything to support the whole. And when this friend of mine asked me this question, he said, John, do you know there are 20,000 negotiators in Malaysia right now? There are 20,000 of them. And none has been addressed. And do you know that these agents in this market potentially is adding value to the whole GDP for the country for the past 20, 30 years? And nothing is being done. In fact, there are more being done for those who are Grab drivers. And I don't disregard them. I don't discount them. I'm just bringing facts that they are putting more effort to support those self-employed people versus this. And there was a comparison in Singapore. What's happening in Singapore? They are getting some allowances and some money for a certain period of time by the government. And I cannot change that because I don't run, I have no input to the government, but we can change. We can change what we can do right now. So there are certain things that we are trying to work on. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. I don't think we can save and help everyone, but we can select those in need to do certain things, right? To do certain things. So stay tuned for Wednesday. I want to thank people like Charlie and other people that is passionate about others. I think this is a good season to display our culture of family, that it is to think about others as well. And in order to think about others, there are three things that we need to help. We need to do something to help. We need to serve others. Training is a way of serving you guys. We need to sacrifice certain things. We need to potentially go through a challenging time to just pass through this season together. And there's certain things that we are proposing right now. So I wouldn't want to go into speculation until we come to an announcement on Wednesday. But we are definitely wanting to do something. It may not be sufficient for everyone, but it is something that we're wanting to do. So stay tuned for that. We are doing all we can in our power, in our capacity, in our ability to fight this war together. So this is a war and battle that we are committing to all our agents and also to the fraternity of real estate. The trainings that we are doing is for all. It's not just for some of our agents. Only certain trainings are done, but we are trying to do more for everyone in the fraternity. We need to check the condition. Yes, we need to do that as well. So we are trying our very best. We are trying our best as a team. We are trying very best. So stay tuned for Wednesdays. Virtual assistant, is there any more questions?
There is one more that came in just just slightly before we address the last question. Malaysia has a lot of issues with bad tenants and bad landlords. Do you think Malaysia is ready to implement stricter act or make available rental bond board, like follow the Australian style?
See, in order for you to have that, you need a new federal act. I hope that will happen. I hope that is necessary. I think it's necessary. It is needful, but the time to see that come to pass will be a certain period of time that I think will not be sufficient to address the situation. But I think it's necessary. I think it will help. I think is where markets that are more established, that are going to be coming out from being emerging markets to be more, what do you call that? To be a more affluent market, I think we need that regulation in place, and that is a federal act. It's a federal act because tenancy is not, tenancy exempt from registration is a small thing in the National Land Code. So we need to have some regulation or potential new laws to be enacted to support this, right? So I think that is going to be helpful. I hope that will happen, but I suspect not in the very near future, because apparently there's only one more parliament sitting for the rest of the year. So that's what I'm hearing right now. So I don't think we have time, and I don't think this is the number one. And I also agree, it's not the number one thing that is important for the entire country right now, but I think it's necessary. I seriously hope the relevant ministries will do something about this. They did a good amendment for the Strata Title and Strata Management Act. That was a very good law that was passed to protect the consumers from developers that were not able to transfer titles to the customers or to the house buyers. But I suspect this is a new helpful law that will protect and make that particular segment of the market a more sustainable market for the rentals. So I hope that will happen. Yeah. Any other questions?
No, no more questions. We're good. But just a reminder to everyone that we're going to have another Ask Me Anything session next Monday as well.
Yeah. So we're trying to see, now just give me an indication here. Do you guys prefer to start every week this way, or you prefer to do it every 2 weeks once this way, just to start the next 2 weeks? If you think once a week is good, press 1. If you think once every 2 weeks is good, press 2. Okay, so 1 or 2. Just give me your feedback right now. Just let me take a look at your feedback.
We have more ones.
Means you're asking me to do more work. Right. Awesome. Okay. So we will try to see what matters and what doesn't matter, and we will try to piece certain things in place for everyone. I think focusing on a specific topic in conversation is critical, and your questions are also critical. Now, if you are able to send in more questions to us so that we feel that means it's very relevant, we will do that. Okay, so that's important. Now, can we have some of the announcement, please? Can I have the announcement? I have a few announcements that is very important for you guys. At the end of this announcement, so please stay on for a while. Just look at the announcement. Now, for those who have just joined us most of the topics are being talked from these 3 major books. You can just look at it and buy. Email hello@Redfield so that you can have information to buy these books. Can I have the next announcement, please? Next announcement. Okay, these are some of the training programs that we'll be having. I want to point your attention to the Tuesday calendar, which is tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow, right? The tomorrow's training about database management. This is an absolutely important training sessions for you. It will be repeated on Wednesday, which is a Chinese session done by different people. I think Timothy and their team will be doing this tomorrow. So I ask that those who have not heard much about database or 36 touch points or how to tag your database, this is a good session to go to. Next one, please. And then we have followed by a workshop for internal agents for capping agents in Redfield. You'll be getting a workshop. And the workshop, you notice, is a long hours, is 9 to 12, because we are trying to help you get your business right with a good GPS. So GPS is a tool that focuses on our goals, priorities, and strategies to work in your business, especially during this season. So I want you will be getting calls from your MCA. So either you're a capper or cappers in training and all that. There will be separate sessions for different agents in different categories, both for the internal agents of Redfield only, so that we want to spend more time working with you. And it's a workshop style. You will be doing certain things in that workshop with a few facilitators. So stay tuned for that. Right? And also we have a Bahasa Melayu training on Thursday. Now, I want to give your attention to the next slide. Now, we are very privileged and honored to be getting support from all over the world. KW University in the US have agreed to work with us potentially weekly or 2 weeks once. So we will have weekly trainings potentially line up, right? Periodically for the next few months to work on certain specific topics. Now, Dagoberto Castillo is a team leader and a MAPS coach. MAPS coach here. MAPS leadership coach, and also he's a KW approved trainer and a team leader of a market center in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I had a privilege of having a conversation with him last week. He is very willing to do a session for us. And this is a session to help us design a good 411. Now, you are a refill agent and a KW agent. You will understand what is a 411. Now, this session is open for all. It's a public session, but it's at night at 8 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. to facilitate his time, because there's a 12 hours time difference. And we just try to find our ways to make it easier for everyone. And I suspect everyone is at home at 8 o'clock at night. Are you? You're all at home, right? You should be at home because the lockdown states is 8 to 8, right? So all of you are able to join this training. Anyone can join. Your friends from other companies, they are welcome to join this training. We're going to try to add value for everyone. This is a very important training because you have a MAPS coach that's teaching you. Now, let me share with you what is a MAPS coach. In order for you to subscribe to a MAPS coach in the US or outside of the US, the cost to subscribe to them is $1,000 minimum per month. Meaning, if you want to be coached by him, you have to pay him $1,000 per month. That's their standard. So you will be hearing from one of the best validated trainers that we are bringing from across the shores of the US. We are bringing more trainers to support this action because we realize that some of you may be busy in the day. This is an opportunity for you to learn at night, right? So I hope that we can bring in more numbers in terms of trainers to you guys and bring in more value. And I'm looking forward potentially to even have the co-author of the Shift and the MRE and the One Thing to be on the call with us one of these nights. So you will be hearing a lot. So I want you to book your time right now. I want you to book your time right now on Thursday night. You shouldn't be going anywhere. If that night you have to make dinner or have dinner, if you're a wife, ask your husband to cook dinner. Or eat dinner earlier so that you can come to this session. This is an absolute not to be missed session for everyone. And we're going to do this every single week if we can, or every other week if we can, to bring in all these international renowned certified speakers. All right. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. We are done. Can I have the face back? Can I have my spotlight back? Okay. I hope you guys are learning something here right now. What are some of the ahas that you're getting right now? What are some of the ahas you have gotten from this session right now? What are some of the ahas that you're getting right now? Any ahas? The red flag of overpriced. Anything else? Any other ahas you have right now? Any other ahas? Be a consultant and ask more questions. Absolutely. What else? What else? Any other ahas that you get from this session right now? Great session. Awesome. Any other ahas you learned? Prospecting. Absolutely. What else? What other ahas? Embrace to face the reality. Refuse to do something. Yes. We are trying to do our best. What else? Yep. Yes. Purposefully conversing with your client. Absolutely. Now, I want you to do this one right now. I want you to do this right now. If you are still on the call right now, I want you to write down potentially 5 to 10 names that you can call this week. I want you to take this next 3 weeks, 3 minutes right now. Write this down. What is the 5 or 10 names that you can call this week? We cannot do the whole month, but we can do day by day, week by week. Start every single day. Work day by day, right? Try your best to take a step at a time. Work day by day. Take down 5 to 10 names. Write it down right now. Take the next 2 minutes. Now, those who have wrote down the names, I want you to say, yes, you have done it already. Write down the 10 names or the 5 names. Write it down right now. Think about it right now. You still got 5 minutes before 12. It's okay. Think about it right now. Absolutely done. Write down that 5 to 10 names. Absolutely. This is what you need to do right now. You'll be very surprised what you can do with these 5, 10 names. You either ask them for the opportunity. You ask them where can you add value for them. You ask them how can you help them in this season. And you also can ask them potentially for a referral. Right? These are a few things that you can do immediately right now. All I'm trying to say to you guys is this. Don't stay still and don't do anything. Don't wait for the market to change. That's absolutely a big deception. That market change and everything will be okay. Do not be deceived. The truth is out there. You need to go out there and fight for market share. Okay? Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for being part of us in this conversation. I'll see you at the next training. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. See ya.